Other interesting business news, you have Rivian stock dropping 9.8% in a single day. And of course, the CEO claims the bond issue, it's not really a big deal. It's not an issue at all. Now, this is after a couple weeks back, the stock dropped precipitously 22.88%. And that was because they're going to say they're going to have to raise an additional $1.5 billion in convertible debt, which they claim will help them offset their concern around their, bleeding money left and right about losing, I believe, $36,000 or $38,000 per vehicle sold. Which again, if you look at the trend of the company, we're losing over, I believe, $250,000 per vehicle sold. So they're losing less and less money. So they're on the right direction. However, they're running out of the cash in the bank. And with Rivian especially, there are a lot of early adopters for the technology. I swear that silly commercial where the little truck will turn itself around like 360 degrees with all the independent motors moving. That has sold more of those silly trucks than any standard commercial you see on the sports spot when they're watching the Super Bowl or whatever people watch these days on the television. It was brilliant. A lot of my friends, they put down deposits. They were all excited to get the Rivian, and they got it. And they had one or two recalls, but they weren't detrimental. That one was just a silly little loose bolt that, again, no life-threatening recalls yet. Although a hacker could just hack into the vehicle and take it over. But nevertheless, nothing major has happened with the company. Now, that means it dropped down the share all the way down to $18.09 per share, which is terrible. Their IPO was over $100. In fact, and again, it's always a little tricky to cover stock because in terms of it fluctuates on a second basis or so it seems. So by the time I publish and edit this video, the numbers may vary, but overall, conceptually, they should be about the same. But if we just go, what was their IPO at? Rivian stock. Let's look at the trend. Looks like last Friday it dropped 5% in a single day. Jeez Louise. So go to their max. So their IPO was $129.95. That was November 12th, 2021. So I was about to say Tesla. They're actually doing good. Well, not so great because the profits that they can't be erased. But nevertheless, Rivian has lost 86.79% of the stock's value thus far. That's a lifetime value of the stock since their IPO. And again, with a lot of their IPOs, sometimes they're overvaluated. And there's a lot of hype because, again, there's a huge fear of missing out, especially the EVs. The FOMO is huge, the fear of missing out. Everyone is kicking themselves for not buying Tesla back in the day when it was, I'll never forget, it was about $20 a share when I was in college. And everyone's kicking themselves and they feel like they lost out. Because they did. People became exuberantly wealthy because they gambled and they believed in Tesla at the time they bought the stock. So ever since that big phenomenon, again, Tesla's the only successful American automotive company to succeed in terms of a startup since Chrysler. So that's quite a big gap of time. Now, Rivian, yes, they are American, and we'll see if they make it. But yeah, the competitor Lordstown, that EV company, which of course makes sense, they're based in Lordstown, they went bankrupt, I believe, 2.5 to 3 weeks ago. So it's a huge, huge risk. Now, it'll be interesting to see, again, their market cap is eviscerated down to $16.27 billion. That's it? So they're worth $16 billion. Tesla's worth, in terms of the market cap, $689.71 billion. So in terms of the underdog, Rivian is certainly the underdog. And, of course, they've been having money where they're losing left and right. They're bleeding money. Consumers are adapting EV vehicles less and less, perhaps because they don't want a disposable vehicle. And they actually want something that will last, more than 10 years. Which, again, I know some Americans buy a new car every single year because they're exuberantly wealthy or foolish with money and just go into debt or something. My family tends to drive them until the wheels fall off. Although we buy Japanese, so the wheels usually don't fall off because they're darn near bulletproof. Or as close as possible. Now, in terms of the CEO feedback, when someone asks Rivian for comment, they go, well, aren't you concerned? You just said you're going to have to raise more debt, but you say it's not accurate. So they asked Mr. RJ, Mr. Scaringe, actually, they asked him, and he said, quote, it's from the CEO, "We don't control the macroeconomic environment. We cannot control the political conflict, and those are real risks that exist not just to Rivian," unquote. He also continued to explain that there's a, quote, "risk at our capital markets and liquidity available," unquote, which is very true in terms of back in the day, and I say back in the day as if it was a lifetime ago, seemingly it was, perhaps 48 months, there was a time where cash was basically free in the United States. A lot of businesses were propped up, especially in tech companies and tech community, with basically interest-free loans or damn near interest-free loans. and they would use it to fund the companies. I mean, but now interest rates are higher than many could possibly conceive. Certainly in past, I would say, a couple of decades, it is prohibitively high. So that's why you're seeing every company, even social media companies, shift from all they care about is market share and number of users to now it's how profitable are you. It's a huge shift in the types of investments that we've seen lately. Now, in terms of Rivian increasing their losses, I should say decreasing their losses and increasing their outlook as a company, it looks like in terms of the price or the amount of capital they lost or how much money they lost per vehicle is decreasing. So specifically, in Q3 2022, they lost $139,000 per vehicle sold. Q4 2022, they lost $124,000 per vehicle sold. Q1 2023, they lost $67,000 per vehicle sold. And Q3 2023, they lost $33,000 per vehicle sold. So, granted, I know there's a lot of uncertainty right now. People are not purchasing as frequently as they used to. But if they keep that same trajectory up, in theory, they should be breaking even soon. And in theory, even maybe get into a profit in the next upcoming fiscal quarters. Unfortunately, this is a very inopportune time because there are a myriad of things that are kneecapping the American economy, well, global economy really. And again, the thing that kills a lot of businesses, kills a lot of deals and sales, kills a lot of initiatives is uncertainty. You see that, and then the political uncertainty, that's very true. A lot of these EV companies are being propped up by subsidies and mandates and basically the EPA kneecapping the big three being known as GM, Ford, and Stellantis, which are best known for making internal combustion engines. GM used to make a great vehicle with the stick shift Camaro and the Corvette, until they subsequently killed the Camaro. It's now going to be rumored to come back as a four-door EV, which disgusting to say the least. Yeah, especially because it's going to have, of course, they only have 2 pedals EV, and the Corvette, they already killed that by having only 2 pedals, and now they have a hybrid option, which is something I'm sure motor enthusiasts are asking for. That's a joke because they do not want that, but nevertheless, I'm sure they will have 18 happy customers who purchase the vehicle. So let me know in the comments, do you think is now the time to buy Rivian? They're, in terms of the all-time low, and I'm curious in terms of what the historicals are, they're not quite an all-time low. It looks like they're all-time or 52-week low when you look at the 52-week outlook, which, fun fact of the day, public schools don't teach, actual things in terms of, they usually teach political identities, but back in the day when schools actually taught things like mathematics, science, and history, they had a lot of value. But nevertheless, in terms of nowadays, I'm going to add more value than an average public school in the United States. A 52-week high, there are 52 weeks in a calendar year. We have now just provided more education than some public schools in the United States, which is quite detrimental and sad, but nevertheless accurate. Now, it looks like the 52-week high was $36.45, but the 52-week low was $11.62 per share. So they're not at an all-time low at the current moment, but they are certainly at a discount. Now, the multi-billion-dollar question is, by raising the money with the bonds, depending on how and when they convert, it converts to stock. So there's a lot of uncertainty there, and they could end up diluting the stock. There's a lot of uncertainty with that in particular. But the really question is, the multi-billion-dollar question is now the time to buy, which I venture not to say just because, would I? Well, it's an EV company, so I wouldn't be a big fan. I would never purchase one, and I only like to invest in companies I really believe in and really would, in theory, want to own the whole company, that kind of mentality. But nevertheless, in terms of an EV company, they seem to be doing better than competition. I mean, that's not saying much because, again, Lordstown just went bankrupt a couple weeks back. Lordstown EV, that is. And it'll be interesting to see. I know Lucid they're doing even worse with the price per share under $5 per share. Jeez Louise. So it'll be interesting to see. Again, the truck market, it's basically, I think the truck market for EVs has been fulfilled. You've seen this with slowing orders from Ford, who makes the Ford F-150 Lightning for all 13 of the people who wanted to purchase it. Then, of course, the Cybertruck will get to the market eventually. I wouldn't put any money on it. They're saying November. Again, I don't know what the Las Vegas odds are for that, though. But let me know in the comments. Would you be a buyer at Rivian stock now that it's a mere $18 per share? It'll be interesting to see, but let me know in the comments. It'd be fascinating to hear what you have to say. Thank you, everyone, again, for taking the time to tune in today. Again, trying to get to 4,000 subscribers by the end of October. So if you could click that button, I greatly appreciate it. Also, any feedback, even if it's harsh or critical, it's greatly appreciated. Throw it in the comments. That way I know how I can improve the show, make it better and better. Lastly, if you like the video, it also helps me know if the video is doing better or not. Or you can always put a downvote, and then I'll know maybe I need to work on the video. Although if you don't comment, I'm not going to know how to actually improve it. So I'll be interested to see what the feedback is from this video. I appreciate it nevertheless. Also, and lastly, don't forget to take the time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.